All right, this is an interesting episode of SupNerd. Welcome, the podcast where we talk about gaming, nerd culture, and everything in between. I'm your host, Victoria Cheng. We have a video version of this podcast available on YouTube and MeWatch. And if you want to put a face to our lovely voices, I have two guests with me today. Do check it out. Links will be in the description. Let's get into this week's episode. The topic is death of the console. I don't know. This might be a particularly dramatic topic. I'm not sure. Okay, so backstory on this. After we recorded our last episode, our guest, Ian, said a controversial statement after he couldn't get his hands on a PlayStation 5. He said, you know what? Consoles are dying and they're going to be gone in the near future. This isn't like word for word. But basically, that's what he was saying. Like, consoles are going to be a thing of the past. And that was just like, okay. Those are fighting words, maybe. I was like, okay, I heard his opinion. Then I dropped it in the SupNerd group chat. And then, yeah, definitely we had some clashing going on, particularly.
It wasn't that bad, to be honest. I think Vic is dramatizing.
No, you guys were like, friendships are going to be broken up. So I was really surprised at these polarizing opinions by Carlo and Ted here. If you don't know who Ted is, he's our first Australian person on our podcast.
Yes, Australian. Great way of putting it.
Guest from down under.
Yeah, everything's just a little bit upside down there, but.
So while he's here in front of cam, he's actually been on every episode behind cam. Along with
he is our
Javon.
director.
Yeah.
Hi, Javon.
It's been a bit stressful,
Yeah,
but it's great being this side now. I'm very happy to be.
Tell us who you are.
Yeah, so my name's Ted. I am, yes, as Vic pointed out, an Australian, but I've been here in Singapore for 10 years and I am a director of video content. So music videos, commercial work, come from advertising, and also lifelong gamer. So yeah.
What do you play?
What do I play? I'm massive on Halo. I am all for Halo. It's great.
So Ted is our token Xbox player.
Yeah, Xbox doesn't get much love.
In
I'm not about, drawing lines in the sand or anything like that. I'm all about inclusivity. I'm all about, you can play on whatever you want, whatever's in front of you. And I think that's pretty much my Phil Spencer just speaking through my mouth right now.
Okay, so
for the record, I did put my pre-order in for a PS5, but I've had to
Excellent.
wait. They literally said 12 to 18 months. Otherwise, you have to buy a flipped one off the.
He's been away from home for too long.
Hand.
It's funny because a lot of us up there, we're very international, like little crew here that call Singapore home. So yeah, so you're big on Halo. You're definitely a console guy.
Oh yeah, so I used to. Ooh. Mic stand issues.
You're the only guest who plays around with the mic on the show.
Yeah. I mean, this is the problem when you come from production. You become very fastidious about, all the small things. So yeah, these are very nice mics, so we don't want to damage them. So to answer your question, yeah, I do come from primarily console. I used to play a lot of PC stuff, like, Tony Hawk's 2 back in the day.
Yep.
The keyboard and the little.
Yeah. And you could split screen it as well. Oh man, we just do the opening the school over and over again. But then also, even before that, I used to play. Remember one of my first memories on my PC. It's like a 486, and it was cracking my dad's password to get to Doom because he thought he was all high and mighty.
Was Doom too violent?
Yeah, I mean, we were 5-6 year olds, so
it's a great time to start Doom.
Oh, I mean, yeah,
come on, Dad.
There's never really a bad. I mean, Doom is so dated now as well. You compare that to what we've got now, in today's day and age on consoles and computer. It's it's really soft. But yeah, we used to have this habit of my brother and I would play Command & Conquer on a LAN at home when we got back from school. And then we'd just run back and forth between the kitchen window and the PCs to make sure that mum wasn't coming back yet. Because the moment she came back, we were done. We were shot. But then she happened to figure out that if she came and she put her hand on the back of the CRTs, they're bloody hot. So she knew exactly when we were playing. So yeah, we've always gamed. But I just think I like to experience games the way devs kind of want you to experience them the most. So consoles just is it's a much easier turnkey solution.
So you think the statement consoles are dying, console hardware is dying. What are your thoughts? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's very iterative because you think about back in the day, right? Even with NES, Super NES, there was it Shiga who had the comment a bad game once it's shipped is forever broken. I think the way that consoles have kind of changed over the years, it used to be very much like you had to buy a Nintendo to play Mario. You had to buy a PlayStation in order to play Nathan Drake. Whereas we are completely changing now. And I think the avenues to which people can play properties is like very different now. So yeah, I think console dedicated hardware, it's becoming a lot more niche because in the past, it's like you had to have the console. Whereas now is like PlayStation, who are finally opening up their doors to, PC and playing properties on PC. I think it's really cool.
After some time.
After, a long period of time, and maybe it's market pressure, maybe it's gamer pressure. But yeah.
So but it's interesting as someone who loves like, the Xbox and with console, and that's primarily like what you're playing on, that you're like, actually maybe console isn't, the hardware side is evaporating a bit. What do you think, Carlo?
Yeah, what do you think, Carlo?
I mean, hard disagree on consoles dying. I think because one, they sold as of the end of 2021, there were like 17 million plus PlayStation shipped across the world. Those all made it out of retail stores. That's why there's a shortage, right?
And did you know the Switch has now outsold the Wii?
Yeah.
Lifetime volume, which is insane. Yeah.
Even the Xbox Series X and Series S, they sold a total of more than 10 million units by end of 2021. That's 27 million units around the world. I mean, I don't think consoles are dying anytime soon. And people are willing to wait. I mean, like, I waited, 10 months to get the PS5?
Yeah.
And
that's pretty good.
I wish I could wait 10 months.
And it's one of those things that people are still going to want. I think there is a future in games no longer being stuck to one console, but the cool console exclusive thing is going to be around for a while. I mean, God of War is not going to come out anywhere but PlayStation except 3-4 years later, right? Maybe two minimum.
But do you think that is to PlayStation's detriment? Like, because it's...
No, because then you get to make money you get to make money twice. You get to sell the console because people want to play the game right away. Because some people who might not have a PS5, huge God of War fans, are going to be like, well, I'm not going to wait 3 years to play this on PC. I must buy this console now. And then that round
You can be Todd Howard with Skyrim.
This is true.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Release it on microwaves.
Yeah. On your smart fridge, it's incredible.
But the thing is, 3 years later, 4 years later, they release it to a brand new audience and just they make that money again because they're going to sell it for like $40, $50, almost full price.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. And I think you have your franchises like Call of Duty, etc., that sell multi-console, which is great because they're all cross-play now. But I don't think there's going to be an end to the exclusivity anytime soon. If anything... I think there's going to be a branch. There's going to be more cross-play games because they've seen the success of things like Warzone, Fortnite. Can't remember what are the other...
Roblox. I mean, yeah, Minecraft's a big one as well. But it's community that you're focusing on, right? Building that community.
But then there's still going to be that layer where you've got the console exclusives. I mean, down the road, sure, it could change. But right now... I don't think so especially because consoles now are cheaper than a high-end PC, right? If you're not buying from a freaking scalper.
Yeah, with GPU prices at the moment, it's just like that's like 3 consoles right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's cheaper than a PC, and I think it depends if you're playing a multiplayer title or not. Wi-Fi is not even necessary.
Well, I think people really also discount the fact that some people just want to sit down on a couch and play with their controller on their big TV.
I think that's like the frictionless experience, which is dope because you just have like your console standby updating, and then when you have time and you just want to boot it up, then you boot it up, and hopefully, everything's up to date. But otherwise, you kind of go down the rabbit hole of, I mean, I love building PCs. I do build my PCs and whatnot. But I think for gaming, it's just like it's a super easy turnkey solution to have a console with you.
I mean, it's absolutely right. There's a time and place for console, and there's a time and place for PC or mobile gaming. And I do just like sitting on my couch and having the TV experience.
Switch is a great experience of that, right? I mean, this is a triple A, device that has been very specifically designed so that you could play it like handheld or you could play it in a console experience. And I think that's kind of cool because, they know that these markets are out there. People do want to play games in different scenarios.
So you were saying though, but you do think that there will be a decline of console hardware? Or is that more what you were saying? Like it's more about the hardware, or why do you think console?
I think that the idea is that it's diluting. So I don't think it's necessarily like less consoles being sold. I just think it's more games becoming more available on more platforms. So I think like looking at Gamepass, for instance, that's a really good indication of what's going on. Even like the recent Activision Blizzard acquisition from Microsoft, right? Like $70 billion. COD, right? Call of Duty, their number one property. Online, they're going to make that multi-plat. It's going to stay multi-plat. just because I think it's so important to make sure you have healthy communities of people playing. And when we shift to free to play, I mean, you kind of want to make sure that people are able to carry their gaming experience around with them, because the more they engage with those communities, the richer those communities are, the longevity is extended within these gaming environments.
So are things like, Game Pass, these sort of acquisitions, the move into cloud gaming?
Have you tried like the Xbox cloud gaming?
I have actually with NVIDIA GeForce Now. Like I tried a little bit, and then we logged in with Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
I only got to try a little bit of it. I don't like playing on my mobile phone, period, which is why I don't really play mobile games. I'm so sorry, mobile gamers, but I don't like it. I have a giant screen at home. I don't want to play on my phone. It's cool, but there are still like lag issues or maybe server issues. I don't know what, but it's not the optimal experience. I like the simplicity. Maybe I'm old. I just like the simplicity of turning on my console, and it does the one thing it needs to do, which is play the game I want to play.
The Xbox is like the Xbox Cloud Pass, because I played the NVIDIA one. That was the streaming. I played Apex on that. Latency was great, but the graphics were really, really bad. Like it was so mushy bitrate. It was like potato quality 240 YouTube. You couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
But it was unreal how quick it was to respond to mouse movements, right? Because especially for FPS, like you need to make sure you have good latency. If you're playing like an RPG, like a ARPG, then I don't think latency is such an issue. But I think the Xbox one, so I've tried it because it's not available here in Singapore locally. There's no local servers. So I like VPN into Korea just to like give it a run. And it works. Like I was playing The Witcher on it, and I was like, it's actually really, really quite good. And like good example, Gears of War, they've now optimized for touch. I'm like you, I wouldn't really like to play a heavy game on my phone, just because like I'm pretty sure the devs would just be like dying.
Yeah.
Like, we spend all, like $500 million on a property, and like people just playing it on the train.
I mean, it can be used on a laptop too, remotely. But I think, okay, so the question is really like, is this, as it gets refined and updated in the future, is this what's going to get rid of console hardware? Do you think console hardware is also here to stay, or like the hardware itself?
They'll keep making the Series X's.
The consoles will exist
Pros.
as long as they're making money. And until
but they aren't making money on the consoles.
No, they don't make money.
They're loss leaders.
No. But they always start with a loss, right? Then it takes the life cycle to make money on it.
The attrition, yeah.
So they do make money in the end, but I think the way people engage with consoles and buy them might change in the future, just because, for example, you guys mentioned Xbox Game Pass. The beauty of Game Pass is it's cross-platform saves for your single player as well, right? So you can play on your Xbox, and you're like, oh crap, I gotta go sit at the desk or something. And then you can play on the desk, and it's a seamless experience.
Yeah, it just follows
you
from screen to
I don't
screen.
think Microsoft cares anymore where you play the games.
Yeah.
They want you to play. They want you to buy Game Pass. So both the PC platform and the console platform become a selling device, like a selling device for that actual service. And I mean, there's nothing that beats it right now, right?
Yeah.
Which is not why now there's rumors that PlayStation is going to start a subscription service and a couple of other.
But the numbers are like, it's like the 25 million Xbox Live subscribers paying for Game Pass, and that's like the lower tier, the $10 a month one, which means that like Microsoft has like billions and billions of dollars pouring in for all its first parties, and they don't have to worry about like pre-release like DLC or anything like that. It's just literally money that's coming in so regularly, and from like an accounting standpoint, that's great, because like you can budget exactly what you're gonna get, because your projections, people don't like drop in and out of Game Pass usually. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like Xbox and Microsoft, they just kind of want to make sure that people are continually putting money into the service. They don't care where you play. They don't care if you're playing on an iPhone or an Android or an Xbox. They've got smart TVs coming out now, I think, which you've got like Xbox streaming too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like, as long as they're getting money, then they're pretty happy.
It's also another reason I think the consoles might not die anytime soon, because with Microsoft now owning Activision, they're going to squeeze out, like 3-4 years down the line, they're going to squeeze out COD from PS5 potentially, from PlayStation, just because then they just control the market.
Weaning them off, yeah.
Because Spencer just, when they did the acquisition or announced it, Spencer said they would honor existing contracts. That doesn't mean anything past those contracts.
They did it with the
right?
Arcane, Bethesda. They had the Bethesda ZeniMax, and like Arcane had the time loop.
Deathloop.
That's it. Yeah, they had Deathloop. And they said no, Deathloop is still going to be PS5 exclusive and honor those agreements.
Yeah.
But then the exclusivity window, when that expires, opens up.
So yeah, for example, Bethesda's next game, the something I can't remember, Starfield, right?
Starfield, yes.
Starfield is going to be Xbox and PC. They're squeezing out PlayStation, right? So if they're going to do that to a Bethesda game, when they know they can make money selling on PlayStation, they're going to squeeze you out of Activision games eventually, right?
I think coming back to like the hardware thing, like will consoles? I don't think they will, because I think gamers are we're a very defensive bunch, and we strongly identify with the subculture. And the cool thing is that people from all walks of life can be gamers in some way, shape, or form. But you do have this hardcore group of like diehards. And they will want to see, the people going up on stage who are presenting at E3 or Gamescom or whatever, saying, we understand what gamers want. We take gamers seriously. Here is our, GPU in a box, like pro version.
Is it just the older generation?
I think it's a sign of respect to come to make sure that gamers are like, we're taken care of. Otherwise, you go the route, like, when Blizzard kind of talked about, they're like a Diablo announcement, and then it was Diablo Mobile. And then everyone's
Immortal.
like, yeah. And it's like, oh my God, it's going to be DLC, it's going to be microtransactions. It's going to be like, it's everything away from gaming. And I think like Xbox Gamepass is good because it means that devs can like make games that aren't focusing on these cheap like microtransaction or these dopamine kicks, the Skinner box effect of like, loot boxes from like Battlefront. That stuff should be like left in the past because, we're time poor. We don't want to spend all of our time grinding as much as, sometimes it's fun, but ultimately if they're like in the past you had like a cheat code, you could just put a cheat code in to get like Luke Skywalker. Now they're demanding that you either sink 10,000 hours into a game or pay the money. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. Days. Respect the gamers.
No, and I think I agree with the people. The gamers can be a little tribal.
Yeah.
Like for example, during the original Xbox and PlayStation console generation, I was Xbox and an Xbox 360. Like I was just loyal to it. I was like, PlayStation players are useless, right? Yeah. And then the PS3 era, I moved, and then I'm kind of just like, I'm kind of loyal to PlayStation now. Yeah. And it's now made it so that because of Game Pass and all the games coming out cross-platform PC, Xbox, I just play all the Xbox games I want on my PC, and then I play PlayStation.
It's great, right? I mean, you don't need to worry. Yeah.
Ironically, okay, so this was 2020, so I don't know if Phil Spencer has updated since, but he has been quoted to say, console hardware is here to stay. But which is funny that you say that, because Xbox Game Pass, I have zero, like to play Halo with you guys, I can just play on my PC now. And then I can continue like my happy life on PlayStation.
Yeah. And that's great because you're still paying for Game Pass. Yeah.
But it's so funny that Phil Spencer said that because I'm happily using Xbox, say Game Pass on a PC, and I have no plans to get an Xbox. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows?
It just widens the circle in the community, the potential community, like Ted was saying, right? So,
and Phil is like super gamer. He's like gamer dad. Before, Phil was like Don Matrick, and Don Matrick was like a dude in a suit. And people had a lot. He launched the Xbox One. It was like, it's not a gaming console. It's a media device that lives in your living room that happens to play games.
And it's always online. If you don't have internet connection, you have a problem.
There were so many communication problems. So I think part of Phil is just like gamers.
Okay, so final statement, because we do need to wrap up. This is going to be one of the shorter episodes. Console hardware here to stay. Yes or no?
Absolutely. It's just,
absolutely here to stay.
They're going to hero it. So this wasn't even a debate to start with. This is clickbait. Yeah.
I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. It will evolve, but consoles and hardware, they won't change unless high-end gaming PCs become cheaper than consoles.
I think that's a super interesting statement. So, leading up from the original statement that consoles are going to die, I think this is what initiated this conversation. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments below or on our site. Yeah, thank you so much. We have Ted, our Xbox and video guy, and Carlo, our games editor.
See you guys later.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of SupNerd. Don't forget to subscribe to us on MeListen, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And if you want to get in touch with us, send some feedback, episode recommendations, or comment what you think about consoles, you can do so. Reach out to us on Instagram at SupNerdTV or myself, Victoria Cheng.
Naming Carlos.
Naming Carlos
Or at Ted Charles,
and Ted Charles. There's a video version of us on YouTube.
where he
So look for our
In real
beautiful
life.
faces. It's also on MeWatch.
I'm smiling.
Links to those will be in the episode description. And this podcast is supported by Mediacorp. Once again, I'm your host, Victoria Cheng. Until next time, nerds. Oops, I hit the mic. See you.
See ya.